Good evening. There we go. Good evening. I'd like to call the May 5th, 2026 regular Planning Commission meeting to order. Please note this meeting is being hosted through live stream on the city website and by teleconference via Zoom. I'd like to remind the planning commissioners to have their microphones turned on and positioned so that the audience can hear. Director Monique, may we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Viramontes,
Here.
Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Vice Chair Worth,
Here.
Chair Beamsterfer,
Here. Commissioner Viramontes, can you do invocation flag salute, please?
Invocation first. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this weather, the rain. Please give us the strength today to make the right decisions to improve our community. Thank you. Or amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Agenda item number 4 is public comment periods for items not on the agenda. Are there any members of the public present that would like to comment on an item not on the agenda?
Yes, Chair. We have Stacy Olson. She has 3 minutes.
All right.
I'm the manager of Brook Terrace Senior Apartments here in Hemet, located off of Cercelli Way, which is off of the main streets of Devonshire and Sanderson. We're right across from the Social Security office. It was a little over 18 months ago that I came to you and we spoke about the new development, the Montego apartments that are going in next door. And then we found out that the governor gave an 18-month extension to them. And so I'm here again. They have exceeded their 18 months. I've been trying for a week to get in touch with anyone from the commission. I've called Monique a couple times. I haven't been able to get anything back. I emailed Miss Karina Hernandez. Don't know the situation there, never got anything back. You have a copy of that email in front of you. Mr. Beamsterfer, I also have an email or a letter that I sent you back in November of 2025. I can give you a copy of it if you'd like, in regards to this situation. And I just would like to know the status, where we're at, because they have not broke ground. They have not done anything with that property at all, and they have exceeded their 18-month extension. So I just wanted to know where we're at on that. If somebody could give me a call or an email or something back. I'm only here tonight because I tried calling and emailing and I didn't get anybody to get back to me. So if somebody could, that would be awesome.
Director Monique, may we have somebody follow with her on that answer?
yes, absolutely.
Okay. We'll have Director Monique reach out to you as well.
Thank you so kindly. Would you like a copy of this to refresh your memory?
The one you just gave us here?
No, this is one that I addressed to you back in November of 2025.
Yeah, I like that actually, because I usually check my emails. This was from
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah. So, okay, all right, will do. I'll get that to you. Thank you.
Also, I'm sorry, real quick, just to confirm, your community is this the project where there was a concern with the tot lot being adjacent to the homes?
Yes, all of that, and lack of notification. My tenants weren't notified in time for the meeting at all. I think maybe 3 or 4 of my tenants were notified out of 50. I wasn't notified until the day of the meeting, which is why I missed it. And so we couldn't even have this conversation about how we felt about it, or if there was anything we wanted to bring up as, in opposition. So, but it doesn't matter because they were given an extension, but here we are. They haven't done anything, so hoping for a second chance to do it over again.
Can you CC me that in the email as well, Director Monique?
I'm sorry.
Can you CC my email as well for that follow-up?
Yes, and if Ms. Olson can please copy me on the email as well. This was attention or copied. Our Deputy Director, Emery Papp, was copied on this email. Karina Hernandez is no longer employed with the city of Hemet. So if we could just be copied on that, that would be be helpful so that we can see the correspondence.
Okay, sure, no problem. If I could get everyone's emails, because the website only shows Karina, it only has her phone number, and that phone number goes to someone else. I've called, I've left messages, so.
Okay.
We can do that for you.
Thank
For
you
the
so much.
record, Ms. Olson, can you repeat your title, where you're from, and your name as well, please?
Stacy Olson, Brook Terrace Senior Apartments.
Thank you.
Our phone number is 951-929-9304. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. Are there any members on Zoom or teleconference that have a public comment?
No, Chair.
All right. With that, we're going to go ahead and close public comment and move on to the approval of the minutes. Does commission have any comments or corrections?
No.
And may I have someone make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the Planning Commission meeting of April 21, 2026.
I second that.
Going to vote.
Yeah.
I'll do on the screen. Might as well put this money to use. Confirm. All right. And that passes. Okay, we're going to move on to item 6A for receive and file. May we have presentation from staff?
Good evening. Are you ready? I'm sorry.
The little light is on there so we can hear you.
Perfect. Is that better? Good evening. My name is Melissa Gillette. I'm the crime analyst here at the City of Hemet Police Department, and I am in the Real-Time Information Center, and I have been asked to do a brief presentation for you all this evening. Purpose of tonight's presentation is just a basic overview so you can understand what the Real-Time Information Center is. I'll be referring to it as the ARTIC moving forward. The tools that we use, some business integration and outcomes that we've had with the ARTIC. First off, the police department received a $2.5 million organized retail theft grant by the state of California back in 2023, and that's how the ARTIC really started. We'd always had some license plate readers here, but this gave us a good jump start to really bring more technology into the department. And what the ARTIC does is it's a centralized technology hub that supports both patrol and investigation in real time. From January to April of this year, we've helped respond and assist around 1,200 calls for service so far. Sorry. Part of the functions of the Real-Time Information Center, or the ARTIC, are our cameras, the integration with the license plate readers, BOLOs, which are be on the lookout that we either put out from our agency or to another agency, real-time support, and collaboration with other entities such as retailers, community members, and neighboring agencies. Now I'm going to talk about some of the technology, the fun stuff that I get to work with every day. Where we started here with the department with the flock was with our automatic license plate readers. And when I started, we had around 44 of them. We now have 68. 4 of those are from residential communities, and 4 are from retail establishments that Had we not had the organized retail theft grant, we probably never would have had the relationships to gain access to those cameras. So that's been nice to see. Next are video surveillance trailers. I'm sure you see those around town. They're the ones with the big blue lights that flash that are in the shopping centers. We have 5 of those total, and all of those were purchased through the grant. And mainly in areas of high theft or shopping centers where we've had a lot of calls for service. They've been a great asset to the organized retail theft team. And what's fun about them, I should say, is we're able to use them as more of a resource for after stuff happens. Sometimes it's not all real time because we don't always get the information right away. We have a lot of retailers that file reports online, and we are able to go back and use the cameras as a great resource to find out maybe what car they came in and what time they came out, what direction they went, and gain a lot of information. If we are able to get them real time, we have had the success stories where we've watched them walk out of the establishment, given direction to patrol, and patrol has arrested those people. Next are our Condor cameras. Those are the pan-tilt zoom cameras that we have throughout the city, mostly on Florida Avenue, and all of those were definitely purchased with the organized retail theft grant. We have 35 of those cameras right now, and we use them every day. When I talked about those 1,200 calls for service, that's mainly what we're using are these Condor cameras. We have the Aero team, which I thought they were going to present before me. When they go for extra patrol in the park, maybe they have a suspect that they see that is exiting out of the west side of the park, and they'll put out on the radio, hey, I'm trying to catch this suspect or subject. We're able to take the cameras and pan around and follow them whatever direction they're going. Last week, we were able to, I was able to say, hey, there's a guy going in the Denny's parking lot, and then I see a patrol car just come in, and they go out of camera range, but next thing I know is one detained, and they're running him, and he had a felony and arrested. So we have a lot of good wins with the cameras. We use the cameras for traffic accidents. There's a lot of traffic accidents that we download, helping with Florida having the median, we're able to tell the officers, hey, it's on the north side, it's on the south side, it's, west side of the intersection, especially if maybe the call comes in of an accident at Sanderson in Florida. It could be anywhere. So I can pinpoint better for the officers or whoever's responding. And so it saves some time as well. The other one, another success we had with the cameras just a week ago, again, the Aero team, I seem to follow them a lot. But a couple of them were doing extra patrol and recognized somebody that had a felony, stopped them. While they were wrestling with one of the guys, another one was walking away, and you could see on camera he's looking back. So he clearly was involved with what was happening. Well, the corporal calls me and says, hey, we think there's a gun somewhere, but we don't know where. Was there anybody else around, or we think there was somebody else around? We were able to use the cameras. I screenshotted something, sent him a picture, and later that afternoon they had him arrested. So it's been very helpful. And the dispensaries are now integrating their cameras into the real-time information center. We know these are areas that have a lot of high cash operations, and what we're requiring from them is just their outside cameras, and they have to be up and running before they can get their certificate of occupancy. So that's been, we only have one so far. Our business partnership cameras, we have 5 businesses, and these are businesses that have agreed to let us go in and put a device that lets their cameras integrate right into our Arctic. We have 4 businesses and 1 dispensary, Allen Auto Glass, Village West Shopping Center, Smitty's Auto Paints, Kirby Dental, and Budology. And with those 5 businesses, that totals 42 additional cameras that we don't have to do anything with. We don't have to maintain them, nothing. So it makes it very nice to have the extra eyes in areas that we might not necessarily install a camera. And it's really kind of bonded our partnership between the businesses and the police department. I have a couple of success stories that we've used with the business partnership cameras, mainly Allen Auto Glass that we've used his quite a bit, and the other is Village West. A lot of their cameras, and that's Sanderson in Florida, where Stater Brothers is at. We have the back alley that we have a lot of cameras that we can see what's happening. So that's super helpful for them. But Allen Auto Glass, there was an armed robbery investigation that we were able to be very successful with. I have a couple of pictures here for you. Initially, when it happened, we weren't 100% sure, so we started watching video. The corporal that was on duty and sergeant on duty started watching video. Well, when the investigators came in, we really downloaded the video and started to dissect it. What we were able to find is the suspect vehicle, which is your picture on the left there, the white vehicle, and then these are both shots from Allen Auto Glass. And we were on the picture on the right, you can see that the suspects are the suspects leaving the gas station, and the investigators were able to go to other businesses in the area and kind of track their direction of travel. But without these initial images, we wouldn't have known other than what we got from the gas station where the incident happened. So it really provided some good start to the investigation. So we had the cell phone analysis that we were able to use cell phones to track them, the license plate readers to look in the area, look through the city and kind of see direction of travel with license plates, obtain that license plate and find out where they've been and where they're going. And through great investigative work, 2 suspects were identified and arrested. So that was super helpful. And then there was a shots fired investigation. This happened at the end of my shift one night. Shots fired call came out, and I started rewatching the video as everybody's trying to chase the car so we can see direction of travel. So I find the middle picture there of the vehicle, one of the vehicles making a left-hand turn onto Columbia. And so we're able to kind of track the vehicle. We spent probably an hour just looking on cameras, trying to find that vehicle. I was sent home. We've exhausted our resources. I come back the next morning, still haven't found the vehicle. So I said, I'm going to start looking at it different. So I just started plugging things into the LPR system different ways, and we finally found a plate on the vehicle, and there was an arrest made within the next day. So, but without those camera angles from Allen Auto Glass, we wouldn't have been able to see the different type of vehicles that were involved. And really, it's kind of what I have. But in the end, we're producing measurable public safety outcomes right now. We have almost 1,300 calls for service assistance this year. We're building partnerships, and probably my shameless plug to you guys is if we can have all businesses add cameras, not make it a requirement, but a strong suggestion from you all, it would be great. That's all I have.
Thank you for that presentation, and it's always good to see criminals get caught.
Yes.
Even with the surveillance systems helping us. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
Yes. Hey, Melissa, thank you for that. It's great to see basically the safety that's going on and the integration of modern technology and things like that. How does a business reach out to become a part of the partnership program?
they're welcome to reach out to myself. I can leave a couple of my cards. There's also, if you go to the website, there's a technology section under the police department, and there's a link where you can contact Flock, and they'll reach out to you and reach out to us, and we can start the process of a business integration.
Gotcha. And with that, does the police department cover that camera install, or is the business?
So we have 30 of these units that are paid for by the grant.
Okay.
And for the first 30 businesses that sign up, and really we have 25 of them now, they're free. The police department's covering all that.
Okay, and it's not a guarantee, correct? Like if you have a business across the street that already has a camera, there's no need to put another one, or what are your thoughts on that?
We haven't really discussed that. It probably just depends on what angles, what we can see with cameras. And if we already have those angles covered, then there probably won't be a need. But we'd have to look at, see.
Got you. And I was reading on the staff report, there's a way that businesses can sign like a contract or something to allow police officers to go on private property. I didn't see that in this. Is that
That's
the
gonna-
TLC, I guess is what it's called?
Trespassing.
So that's going to be with, Arrow is going to probably take care of that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's going to be in their presentation.
Gotcha, okay, sounds good. Thank you, Melissa. No
Huh?
further, I don't have any questions.
Melissa, thank you for that presentation. It's really good. So are you integrating our system into any adjacent police activity, the sheriff's department or anything like that? Any plans to do that? Do you
Not-
guys cooperate in that regard?
We'd love to share.
Okay,
But I don't know that we'll be sharing our cameras with them. 100%, we are able to see Menifee, the few cameras they have in their parks. I don't think it's frowned upon that we won't share them.
yeah, I understand.
But-
Okay. What about AI as a tool? Have you been tinkering with using AI as a tool for, you know?
So we have had some demos that we were able to use with Flock. They have a Freeform, which is an AI tool that we've had some trials with. Not 100% amazing at this point in time. Have we had any successes with it? I've had a couple. We were talking earlier, out of the probably 30, 40 times we've used it, we've had 2 successful, I don't want to call them identifications, but leads on people or vehicles using the tool.
Well, I guess the more data you get stored, the
Right.
better
The better the
AI.
tool is,
Yeah,
right.
exactly. Good. No, I appreciate the presentation, and thank you for giving us that update. It's really good to see.
You're welcome.
No more questions, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Melissa, for the presentation. I was just yesterday, my mother-in-law was making a comment about how it just seems like things seems to be getting better. So this must maybe a big part of that. Are there plans in the future to either pursue more grants or allocate more funding to expand the program? I guess that we have 25 that are available kind of means that maybe we need to get out and get them out there more, but just in terms of expanding the program?
I imagine we will. I think we have to fill those 25 first before we can.
Yeah.
Today I had a conversation with a property owner as well, and the managers want it, but it's getting the property owners to sign off and get the ball rolling. We've been having this conversation probably for 2-3 months with the property management, and we finally today, we're like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, it seems like there could certainly be some kind of interdepartment coordination and motivation, in terms of compliance issue, code enforcement issue. Maybe these are some things that we could kind of place as, encouragements to help across the board. Do these videos and things, I would assume, but do they help downstream in the conviction rate?
I know the more I personally can't answer that. I would turn that over to my corporal.
Corporal Dylan Wirtz. I'm part of our detective bureau, and I help oversee the Arctic. Yes. in today's day and age, if it's not on camera, it didn't happen. So having this as our evidence is a huge help in conviction rates, 100%.
The second part of that is hopefully if they're convicted, they stay in and not let
That's
out.
above my pay grade, but I agree.
I understand. And then the other question that I had was in regards to AI. Yeah, it seems like a good potential opportunity to integrate AI to help augment staff. Because if you go off shift, like your example, there's a lag during that period of time, or is that being monitored and reviewed 24/7?
So all our supervisors and officers have access to these cameras as well. So the Arctic is manned by 2 crime analysts, Melissa and our partner Dan. They're on 7 days a week, splitting, or 12 hours. So on the off time, the overnight time, the supervisor, watch commander has access to the cameras, and they're watching. Sorry, lost my light. They have access to everything that they normally have access to. Granted, they may be away from their computer and things like that, but that's where the replays play a part, right? We just go back and essentially watch it shortly after, or if it's in real time, the supervisor can jump on and coordinate these guys where they're needed.
Would there be a value in your opinion to have 24 hours of an analyst there, so maybe more resources?
I think that's the goal at a certain point, and get 24/7 coverage analyst in our real-time information center watching the video wall. Just a matter of staffing and
Budget.
Yeah, exactly.
Very good. Well, yeah, thank you for that presentation. This is great news.
Pretty much most of the questions got answered. The pop-up cameras, what's your range for good clarity when you have those pop-up cameras with the flashing blue lights, like you have one in Burlington and where Marshall's is?
They're actually really good. I can zoom from Marshall's all the way across to McDonald's and see fairly well. It does get grainy, but you can see movement. If you're watching a vehicle, you can definitely see the vehicle and which direction to travel. License plates are really good. We did a organized retail theft blitz. I sat on a car for hours and went back through video. And then when I found the vehicle that the subjects were in, I was able to zoom through a car window to get to the license plate.
Wow.
So, yeah. So if there's a will, there's a way.
And it has good night
Yeah.
vision too and everything?
Yeah, it's decent depth-wise or far away. It gets really grainy at night. But if there's a lot of light, it's not bad. A lot of light sometimes can make things
Harder
where you
to see.
can, yeah, harder to see.
Well, and I'm gonna give you a story too. One of my friends moved into him and his wife moved into their house. Their first night in the driveway, their car got stolen in San Jacinto. And he called to tell me that. I was like, oh, you know what you need to do is call him at PD and let him know you have a stolen car, give him the license plate numbers. We got these cameras that might be able to catch it. Same day, you guys contacted him and said, we found your car. It's over by Rocking K Ranch. It's those apartments over the hotel over there. And they got the car back. Of course, the guy tried to say that they let him borrow the car, and he's like, I don't even know you. But so they pressed charges, but it works. It completely works, and I've seen it in action. So I do like the extra 25 cameras. I'm going to definitely contact my property owner and see if he wants to get involved in that, because it's right there at Gilmore in Florida. So yeah, it's a good spot. It's an active place. So any other questions? No?
We should reach out to all of our commercial facade grant award recipients and offer it to them. And
I agree. And just for clarity, it's no charge to them to have that camera installed on the property.
Correct.
And does the property owner have access to that camera too, or is it just the city of Hemet?
They're already their cameras. We're not putting in any extra cameras. It's existing cameras that are at the businesses. So we're just, it's a plug-and-play system where we go in, we plug a unit in, the cameras get plugged in, and we get the feed that you're already seeing. So that's why it might not work for all businesses, because if you only have 2 cameras and you're not really looking at anything, you're just looking at your door, I might not find that super helpful for us. We're looking for kind of street views and parking lots, larger areas that have a lot of traffic, that type of thing.
I wonder if there'd be an opportunity to kind of help to add cameras, if it would benefit both, and maybe a partnership to,
With a business.
right.
Well, we wouldn't pay for the cameras,
Right.
but we would pay for the integration part. Like, we would take care of the integration, but if the business owner wanted to add 10 cameras to their business and give us permission to integrate with them, we would love to do that. And if anyone's interested to stop by, please send me an email, and you're welcome to come by the Arctic anytime and check it out.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Nope, okay. I just know I read stuff about pros and cons about the system, and then just like anything, I know some cities got in trouble because they were following their exes or, trying to see where they're going and things like that, but I know we're not doing that here, so. Now, in 2025, they had a hacker, from what I read, a hacker hacked into the system as well, and they got it resolved. No? Our system. Okay, not here, just whatever flock system that multiple cities use.
I don't think we were affected by that.
No worries, I'm gonna cross that out. Okay, thank you very much. With that, we're gonna go ahead and open up public hearing. Is there any members here or online that has a comment? Oh, it's a 2-part presentation. Stay tuned for part 2. All right.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Detective Scow. This is my partner, Detective Godward. We're both on the Arrow team. We're 2 of 7 that we have right now. We're just going to give a brief little presentation. We have a PowerPoint. Going to share some of our experiences and some insights on what we do on our team. So, like I just kind of gave it, but the Arrow team is comprised of several dedicated members of the Hemet Police Department who are committed to improving the quality of life throughout the city of Hemet. That's our main focus, is we address quality of life issues, which is a pretty big spectrum of crimes, anything from trespassings, vandalisms, loitering, squatting, drugs.
Good evening, everybody. So I'll talk about a little bit. We have some City Hemet resources that we work with daily. One of them is going to be, we call them Arrow 200. It's a team, we usually have 1 of 2 guys that are coming around. They drive a F-250 truck that has a dump trailer on us. What we're able to do is we have these encampments, so once an arrest is made, what do we do with the property? So we can call them out. They will bring a dump trailer. We're able to load that stuff. We can also store property. We have a program on how we store property as our team. Not everything is trash. But when it's just accumulated stuff like you see on the picture, it's like mattresses, couches, stuff like that. What are we going to do with that if we just arrest them and leave it there? So we're able to take care of that. We clean it up, and then we're able to dump it over at our city yard. So and that's totally trash. Improving quality of life. So like my partner said, quality of life affects everything as far as anything criminal related. So whether it's shoplifting or we have a big homeless issue here in Hemet, we will address it. So like I said, everything from the encampments Bad neighborhoods, that can also be some of the apartment complexes or mobile home parks that are having issues. We reach out to them, kind of create that communication between one another, and we can start addressing certain problem areas or problem houses, apartments, whatever it is that they have. We can also address like certain absent landlords, so we get involved with code enforcement. We can kind of start addressing that problem on that way. And again, squatters, we deal with this all the time. People think that all the squatters have all these types of rights. Really, if it's on the landowner or property management, and we can get them out of there pretty quick. Rehabilitation is a big thing. Obviously, we are a zero tolerance team, so we will enforce every possible criminal action that we can. We offer resources to everyone. At some point, usually when we talk to them, that they're not ready for it. But they're usually ready probably after the 5th or 6th time of getting arrested for the same thing over and over, that they're like, okay, we'll take the help. So we have resources that work with us daily as far as, hey, we can get you into rehab right now, but you have to be willing to say yes and you're gonna go, like no excuses. So we're able to get them into rehabilitation centers for either drug, alcohol. We also work kind of like throughout the county and even out of county with other areas that can kind of get them onto like Job Corps type stuff where it's a live-in and then they can get jobs going. So actually kind of become a different member of like working society. We use a lot of our Hemet municipal codes. Biggest one we use all the time is obstructing any street or sidewalk. So 46-4 Hemet municipal code. So any like type of storing of property along any type of city sidewalk, we can contact them. And it's really kind of like our introduction to be able to start some type of criminal enforcement action. We're not going to allow the encampments. We're a 7-day team. We split the sides of weeks just like Arctic, and we're out there making arrests every single day. So if someone has a camp out there, it's probably not going to be out there longer than a day because we go through daily. We all kind of have certain areas that we check throughout the city as like kind of our first thing that we do in the morning. If we see someone there, they're immediately getting contacted and they're kind of given the option, hey, we can get you housing resources, but if they have warrants or anything that we can enforce on the criminal side, sorry, you can address that later and you're gonna go to jail today. So it's a big thing on our team. We do not allow any type of encampment thing. We do not want that here in the city of Hemet. Vandalism, this was a big one. One of the detectives, he's not here tonight. He worked a pretty big vandalism investigation. It was a team of guys that were tagging LMN. I believe it was like 7 different businesses, and then there was also multiple different park benches and everything where LMN was on everything. In total, repair cost of that one was about $4,000, and then they recovered a bunch of just like indicia of like graffiti and everything that was along with that. We also had a recent one, special thanks to Arctic on the other side. There was a call for vandalism at Gibble Park. 2 subjects were seen spray painting. We also had a good witness who wanted to cooperate with us. We were able to, later on, we couldn't find them initially. We got kind of an initial picture of what they looked like. After about an hour, we were able to find them. They were literally found, almost 100 yards from where the vandalism happened. So, and based off like getting the pictures of what they were tagging and what they admitted to and the statements we got later, like we're kind of tying in a lot of these like different vandalism pieces all together. We're going to kind of go into like some of the trespassing laws that we're able to use around like California Penal Code. One of them is going to be illegal lodging. So this is that big encampment section that we use. It may not be the one that we're going to absolutely enforce, but it's our justification for contacting someone. So for any type of reason, we have to be able to articulate why. So Penal Code 647E is illegal lodging. So like you see the picture on the left, it's kind of like a tow behind trailer, but it's left out in the middle of nowhere. So it's absent of like running utilities and everything like that. So we're able to contact them and, hey, you need to either get this into a scheduled space at a mobile home park or RV park. And then at the end of the day, if it's, kind of violating some type of code law, we can call code enforcement out. Most of these are, severely expired or stolen. And we don't find that until we are actually able to contact them, do a little bit of investigating, and then we find some type of vehicle identification number, or we see some type of similar report. We see them, we look over social media. We're like, hey, this trailer was stolen. We find this trailer, but it's been removed of all markings. But now we know it's stolen. So we're kind of able to contact all these. And like I said, this is the perfect one where we call our Aero 200 unit that comes out with the dump trailer, and we can get all this cleaned up in a matter of minutes, which would take other cities, probably days, if not weeks, to get it coordinated. Homeless encampment, same thing. A lot of it's on the trespassing laws. A lot of these signage and stuff, we go into it a little bit later in the presentation, but Biggest thing with these businesses is the signage. You know, there's no trespassing. We can articulate someone is trespassing by setting up cardboard blankets, you know, kind of like in a living status, right? We're not there to go to their store. They have a long-term means there. And they'll stay there until they're basically either told to leave, arrested, or have all their stuff taken away, so.
Just a basic no trespassing letter. It's kind of funny, a lot of these pictures that we have in here, a lot of the guys that we do arrest, they're usually sleeping or camping right underneath the no trespassing sign. So that makes it pretty easy and make for some funny pictures. So here, just another picture. Just to kind of add on to this, as he was mentioning with our Aero 200 dump trailer, just to reiterate, we don't throw away every homeless person's belongings, right? If they have important stuff, we store it, then they can come pick it back up later. So if there's anything of high value, we always store it. Most of the stuff, like the blankets, clothing, a lot of fabrics, it's soiled, it's got urine on it, it's wet, cockroaches, and it'd be unfair to other people that we store property with to put that soiled property with it. So that is kind of our workaround to get rid of some of the property. So talking about mobile home parks, I actually have kind of a little bit of a story with this one. So this presentation explains what management can and cannot do when tenants invite guests, including unhoused individuals. I'll go through this and I'll get to my little story. So tenants control who can be inside their own unit. A lot of property managers will come to us and say, hey, you know, this random guy doesn't live here, but this tenant's letting him stay in his house or apartment or mobile home or whatever it may be. Unfortunately, that's nothing that we can necessarily handle on our own. That's a civil issue between that homeowner or renter and the landlord. So management cannot use trespass laws just because they don't like a guest. That's a whole different issue. But so here's some examples of when a guest is not trespassing. Tenant invited them in, tenant still wants them there. Guest is inside the unit or coming and going. No court order or eviction. That's a big one. When a guest can be trespassed is a tenant, the actual leasee or renter or whoever it may be, tells the guest to leave and that guest refuses. The guest is in a common area without permission, or the guest ignores a lawful trespass warning, usually by that homeowner. What management does have control over is walkways. We see it at a lot of these, you know, older home communities. A homeowner might let their grandson and his friends stay over and they just kind of take it over. But some things they're not allowed to do is hang out in common areas. They're not allowed to just throw all their stuff everywhere and, you know, make a mess of the place. That could be considered trespassing. Management also controls the parking lot, same thing. You know, somebody who isn't a leasee there parks his car in the designated parking area, they can't do that. Laundry rooms, pools, and open grounds, the rules can be enforced there. Management can also enforce loitering in common areas, no camping or sleeping outside, no blocking walkways, no storing belongings, and no disturbances. It's kind of just a little more into what I said. Heavy foot traffic, management cannot ban people based on homelessness. Management can address behavior causing safety or nuisance issues. The strongest tool, like I mentioned, is lease enforcement. If a guest causes problems, that's generally between the actual tenant and the property owner or management. Their biggest tool is to document everything by contacting the police department, and then eventually we'll give them the information to work towards an eviction. Management should avoid calling the police based on appearances, unequal rule enforcement, harassing tenants. Here's kind of like I was telling you about the picture. Bunch of subjects, trespassing on private property, right underneath the no trespassing sign. Illegal narcotics. I think he's gonna kind of take over, but just to reiterate on the mobile home parks and things like that. So as far as trespassing goes, some of our duties include having a partnership with managers and property managers and owners of all these communities, a lot of mobile home parks, senior living communities. So a few months ago, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the Mountain Shadows RV Park. It's generally a pretty nice area, you know, it's pretty normal people that live there. But there was one specific mobile home that was causing issues. Whole bunch of calls for service, and eventually we reached out to the management, and you know, she started informing us, you know, day to day, hey, you know, we think this guy might be selling drugs out of his mobile home because, you know, A, B, and C, there's people coming to his house late at night, there's a lot of foot traffic, there's a lot of, you know, homeless people coming and going from that trailer. So we were able to do an investigation, do some surveillance. We ended up forming enough probable cause to write a search warrant and found out that in that nice community, a guy was selling drugs and had connections to the cartel and a bunch of crazy stuff. So that's kind of our partnership with the communities. Do you want to take over?
Yeah. I'll go back one. I'll kind of touch on the legal narcotics piece of it. Again, with this homelessness and transient contacts, it is not uncommon that pretty much every person we contact will have some type of drug paraphernalia, whether that be a pipe, there's used foil, there's, you know, even the types of lighters and stuff. We can start putting one and two together to say, okay, we now know this person is a frequent drug user. There's other classes and courses and stuff that we've taken to identify the actual drug use or people under the influence of drugs. And we see all the signs. And it's kind of funny because even in some of these courses that are taught throughout the state of California, HEMT is referenced pretty frequently. And it's not necessarily the bad thing, but you get a lot of experience working with it here, and you're able to articulate a lot more very quickly. Some of the recent laws, so Prop 36 brought in Health and Safety Code 11395 Boy 1, which it makes it a felony for having, so if you have two convictions of a previous health and safety possession offense, there's multiple offenses that are listed in there. If we're able to pull that person's criminal history record and they have two prior convictions of that possession offense, we can now make this third one or subsequent one a felony. So what would be usually just a citation at some point, kind of a cite and release process, even if they're booked into a county jail, they're usually immediately released just with a citation. At least with this one, for Prop 36 offenses on those felonies, they have to be seen and adjudicated before a judge. Or at least at that point, that judge has to make the decision, yes, we can send him with a release date, and there's going to be a date to appear later in court. So definitely helps out in certain scenarios where we're having constant ones. I had one recently. The individual had multiple different forms of supervised release, so I think there was 3 different forms of mandatory supervision and probation, all for drug-related offenses, and he had 0 contacts here in Hemet. I had 2 other people arrested, and I looked over, and he's there smoking a pipe. It's like, okay, right in front of my car, my lights are on, I'm wearing this uniform and everything, and I'm just like, what the heck, man? So we talked to him, sure enough, we figure out his criminal history, and there he goes. We were able to do a bail enhancement on him. He's been in custody ever since. So does it work every time? No, but are there certain scenarios where we can work it and we can actually like articulate the system a little bit more? Absolutely. So these Prop 36 offenses are like what Prop 36 brought to us does kind of give us a little bit of a fighting edge, especially when we're able to articulate a little bit more in this category when it comes to Hemet. These are some of our seizures. Again, this was one of the, I don't know, were you on this one too, or? Yeah. I don't know the full specifics on it, but we contact a lot of people that are on probation and parole, or they're involved in these red tagged houses, or we get these problem houses in this community. Sure enough, I believe this individual was on probation for some type of drug or narcotic offense, and we ended up going back to their residence as part of their probation terms, and they were able to seize quite a bit, and that was all methamphetamine. So, and this isn't kind of an uncommon picture. We don't always seize this amount every day, but I would say monthly, we're probably looking at about the same numbers. So, and just even if it's just 1 or 2 grams here daily or on each arrest, it all adds up. So,
This, just to add on that, this was another one that had to do with community complaints, and I believe this was in a 55-plus neighborhood. So the HOA or whoever handled that neighborhood reached out to the police department and said, we believe this is going on because, you know, X, Y, and Z. So, like you said, there was people on probation in that house. Some of them weren't over 55, so I think they had all these drugs hidden under their floorboards because it was another mobile home type area, so they had a lot of crawl space.
Oh, so there was that one. There's a couple of detectives that were on it and found it. Again, we don't always get these big wins. Like I said, it kind of gets a little monotonous. Sometimes we usually contact someone that will always have a few grams of either what we believe to be methamphetamine or fentanyl. It's not an uncommon thing for pretty much every contact we have, and we probably average 15 to 20 contacts a day each. And so, you know, that amount just all in one, I mean, that's kind of a nice win for us for sure. I mean, this is, again, just going into some of the testing systems we have. Again, this is just 14 grams of just pure fentanyl. And I think what we had over 500 grams just from that mobile home park. So from the one off of South Costin, you know, that individual that we, you know, arrested for narcotic sales, we found just a pocket of it that was 500 grams of just fentanyl. So, yeah.
I'm sure you guys have heard a lot about fentanyl, but just to kind of reiterate how crazy this stuff is. So 0.1 gram, that's extremely small. Like if I was holding it right here, you wouldn't be able to see it. So 140 individual doses. That's insane. That could be 140, you know, individual overdoses. So just that little bit, you know, it's fit in the palm of your hand right there. It could cause huge chaos in the city, which it does. We have at least 2 or 3 overdoses a day.
Kind of transitioning a little bit into the CPTED. So CPTED is crime prevention through environmental design. We have a couple certified personnel through the department that's actually able to go and assess businesses on this. But we also do incorporate this when we're meeting with some of the apartment managers, complex managers, or, you know, mobile home park managers. They ask, like, hey, what can we do, like, right now? And so obviously the big one is, you know, we try and link them up with the camera stuff. Like, hey, if you guys have cameras, you know, it definitely helps because then we can start, you know, looking into trends or whatnot. We don't always have the availability to have someone sitting in an unmarked car 24 hours a day to kind of figure out who these people are. But the use of the community and, you know, kind of getting people involved with some of these ideologies is great. So just to read off here, so it's proper design and effective use of the built environment can lead to the reduction in the incidence and fear of crime and thereby improve the quality of life. So that's the big ticket phrase right there, is quality of life. So it definitely falls under our purview. Elements of CPTED, so natural surveillance, access control, territoriality, and active support. So natural surveillance, there's a lot of, you know, everyone wants that house where no one can see inside or do any of those things, but sometimes that type of landscape design also creates, you know, the alternative for someone who's looking to do bad things, right? Because then they're able to be concealed from everything. You're not able to see them as well. So sometimes some of this environmental design also kind of goes back against what they were actually intending to do. No, you're good. It kind of goes into the same thing. So this is what we're talking about. Like, right, these trees are great for the person that lives there. They don't have to worry about, you know, if they have a neighbor they don't like or, you know, ugly trash cans, whatever the reason may be. But there absolutely could be someone sleeping in the tree. We have it all the time in all our, some of our like business complex, you know, where their hedges and stuff are overgrown. We actually walk in there. There's usually people that have dug out an encampment inside of those trees. So something like this, obviously, I wouldn't be the one to recommend it, even though I like the feeling of kind of that safety net as well. But you have to look at it from the person who's going to take advantage of that, whether that's staging burglaries or anything. It's stuff that we're running into very frequently right now. Again, safe run, safe, you know, tall hedging. It's great for the person who just doesn't want anyone to see what their business is doing, but you have to look at the alternative. What can someone else see that you can't see them? Again, safe and unsafe. So the big thing that I know we came into issues with when we were setting up some of these cameras is the trees. We were like, man, this camera would be great, but there's a tree in the way and it blocks the storefront. So we can't see anything with this tree, but this camera's in a great spot. So trees are also always really nice to look at most of the time, but when it comes to the CPTED and the use of like cameras and whatnot, sometimes it really hinders what we're able to do and like how we're able to deploy that camera.
Not only that, but how how easy would it be for a bad guy to be hiding in all that brush, all that? Sorry. Not only that, but how easy would it be for a criminal who wants to, attack those ladies or mug them to hide in that brush?
Cool. Kind of think it goes into the same thing here, right? It's probably great for the homeowner, he doesn't have to worry about much, but, we see it all the time with this mail theft. If they had a Ring camera, we're gonna maybe catch a matter of seconds that someone's gonna probably be on their porch, if they even, who knows what's behind there, you can't see if there's a gate or anything, so if they're left packages, or if they have mail theft from their mailbox and they have a Ring camera, but the Ring camera's behind that hedge, well, we're not gonna be able to use anything from that Ring camera. Again, this one's a little bit better on certain parts of it. It's a little bit open. However, what a lot of people don't see is in some of these apartment complexes, they have this type of hedge design, and then usually they'll have some type of person who's evicted or whatnot, and they'll just literally sleep in between the house and that brush, and no one ever sees them until they're walking up on them. And same thing here. Keep going. Right. We can keep talking about all the septet and as far as like the tree design and whatnot. Like I said, we have a couple people through our department who are actually certified and have gone through a little bit more further training on it. I think just the biggest common question is we get asked is, hey, what can we do here? Well, by the time they've asked us, they've already have a whole building established. They've already running a business. They've already had this environmental design and plan gone through. So we hope this kind of gets employed a little bit more as far as maybe the what happens before a business starts, and actually utilize some of this SEPTED ideology, just so later on it coincides with our RTIC, and when we're responding out there, we actually can use a little bit more of the environment to our advantage. Cool. Any questions or answers? Go ahead.
Thank you for that great presentation and kind of filling us in with what you guys do. I know it's not the most cleanest of job dealing with these people out there, so I appreciate everything you guys do. Commissioners, Commissioner Hill's request to speak.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. First of all, thank you for what you guys do, the whole police department. We really do appreciate the service you guys provide and the quality of life. First of all, my question is, do you guys work with Christian from the Hope group? Have you guys worked
Right.
with him before?
Yeah, yes, sir, we have. Yep.
Okay. I assume you guys are pretty well integrated with each other and
Yes, sir. So we have our outreach specialist right now, which is one of our retired lieutenants, Eric Dixon. So he's our outreach specialist. So he works with Christian Tikas pretty frequently. When we didn't have that position, we sometimes fill in, and I believe we all have Christian's number. He has our number. If he sees something, we usually go out there and try and do what we can for him.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you. Second of all, you know what? I didn't get your names. You guys kind of said that real quick. Like, can I get your names, please?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Brian Godward.
And then I'm Colby Scow.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Colby. I did have another question, but I forgot what it is, so I'll yield to the next person.
Commissioner Viramontes, go ahead.
Hey, yeah, thank you for that, guys. And yeah, it's great to see, that these homeless encampments can get, taken away pretty quickly. On our side, we had what's called the TLC, when businesses give, you guys permission to enter the private property. Where does the business go to fill that out?
So there's a couple options. I believe it is on the Hemet Police Department's website. If not, they can, if a business has questions about any type of like trespassing enforcement or the trespassing letters, they can reach out to anyone on the Arrow team, and we can just meet with them face to face and get that all sorted out for them.
Okay, so you guys, like on the Hemet website, there's a place to reach out to Arrow directly?
I believe so, and if not, we can give all of our contact info. Like, so we're pretty much between the 7 and 8 of us that are roving around. We've pretty much contacted almost every business and at least extended the hand, and they have some type of contact for us. But if someone's missing it, by any means, they can, even if they just call the non-emergency line and request to speak to Arrow One or like an Arrow detective, we can reach back out to them. That's not a problem.
All right, thank you very much.
I think we're going to circle back to Commissioner Hill here. You put his request in.
Yeah, now I do remember. I'd like to go back to what you guys were talking about on fentanyl.
Okay.
I mean, it's a sad story, this whole fentanyl thing. I'm wondering what you guys are seeing in the school system here in Hemet with fentanyl. Is it there? Is it not there? What's your opinion on what's going on in the school system and other drugs too?
Sure. So we don't work directly in the schools itself. And there's a lot of education codes and whatnot that would go through there. I know there are school resource officers that if they've come into contact with, they absolutely can file criminal charges. But as far as the school trends and who we're seeing have it, we don't see it very often, but we do see like kind of juvenile overdoses once in a while, and it's kind of just like in pockets. And what I mean by in pockets, there's usually some type of nexus to even someone who maybe graduated a couple years before and they knew them from a few years back, and they ended up taking a turn for the worst, and now they're homeless. But now it's kind of going from there. So as far as like specifically in the schools, I wouldn't say it's rampant, but it's as far as if they kind of reach out to that contact that they've had throughout their years of schooling. That's usually when we'll see it, or if we see, sometimes split houses or whatever it may be, and we have a parent that's addicted to it, then sure. But as far as like actual juvenile possession or dealing and transactions, it's not something that we're too frequent. It's not like a too common thing.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much, first off for the presentation, but secondly for what you guys do. Born and raised here, and you've kind of, to your point of Hemet being on the training, there's a good and bad part about Hemet, and like I mentioned earlier, I think there is a sense, at least in my circles, that things are getting better, and that's great to hear, and it's a direct result of your guys' efforts. A couple comments or thoughts. First off, what we're seeing with new development and specifically with state goals in terms of the regional housing needs assessment and the needs for low-income housing and things of that nature. As these projects come in, I'm assuming that there's some coordination between the planning department and the police department in terms of that environmental design and any sorts of elements that we can incorporate within the conditions of approval and the entitlement process to kind of help beef up both the design standards, but then also maybe some requirements on programs in place between the management of those units. Does that actively happen now? Could that be improved? Are there kind of industry standards that we should be looking at adopting that we're not adopting yet? Is there anything that, I guess my point is there things that the Planning Commission can do to help, as new developments, especially those low-income, high-dense type developments that are probably a little more conducive to having problems in the future?
Yeah, so I think for the ones that haven't been developed, and if they're looking to come to Hemet, we'll kind of answer that one first. I just had a brief discussion. I've worked with her pretty frequently. It's one of our community service officers. She's the one who's certified in the CPTED. She can absolutely do that assessment beforehand and kind of put like a guideline or, what would be like a somewhat requirement for you guys as a planning commission. She said the challenge she runs into is, after a business or whatever has already been established and it's already been approved, we can go out there and give the recommendations, but I can't speak to as far as what you guys can enforce or what she can enforce on that, just because we're not the ones specifically going out there to do it. But I would say if they're looking to come this way, I think the biggest part is just the accountability piece afterwards. We work with a lot of property management that will kind of set all these things in motion, and then they have it in motion and then they're never to be found again. So then we're looking to enforce or trying to keep people accountable, and we're out of luck when it comes to property management sometimes. And, it's weeks before we hear back, and it's like, well, that kind of slows us down, or that'll slow pretty much anyone down. Or if we have certain issues in certain areas and we're looking to property management to kind of assist us in getting those answers, and we don't have any of it, then I think that's one of where you have a small problem will slowly start growing into a bigger problem because we just can't address it at that point.
It seems like that'd be a good opportunity for, within the context of design standards that the state is requiring, that we can, maybe work to put in place things that allow for subsequent code enforcement because things aren't being taken care of that were at least identified within the COAs.
Yeah, absolutely. I know they're not here, but code enforcement's been awesome to work with for us. We see a lot of the problem houses or houses that are, red tag throughout the city. That's also, sadly, just like a big welcome sign for a lot of the problems that we deal with daily. So, can't give code enforcement enough credit. They've been awesome in helping with us and, kind of going along what can be enforced on their side. They don't miss a beat for it. So if it something that code can do, I'm sure they would have no problem doing it because we have zero issues with code enforcement.
Yeah, and if we can make those give code enforcement more teeth through the conditioning process, whatever that mechanism is, that would be great. I'm torn on. It's kind of similar to what you were referring to, the kind of balancing that privacy, private rights, your own what you want to do on your own property versus providing, and also I deal with landscape a lot, and so it's like, yeah, I love trees, but
Right.
I never looked at it from that perspective, and that's certainly going to be a challenge moving forward. Got to try to balance that.
Absolutely.
Dealing with them. So, but again, thank you so much for what you guys do. It's definitely making a significant difference in the city.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
It's more of a comment. When we mentioned the trees, I remember a Kmart building on State and Stetson there, where there was a mattress in a tree way up there before they were all cut down, and they had to have a little rope to get up there, and it was like, it was unbelievable. People were sleeping up there in the tree like that. And then the whole shopping center just cut, all the trees down, which because of that problem, it's sad to cut trees, but there again, it's a hiding spot for them. And the trespassing sign, I remember you guys coming around to the office and introducing yourself, make sure we sign a certain form and turn it in and get the trespassing sign. I think they had to say like the number 602 or something like that at the end of it. That was the most current code. I'm not sure if that's still on the property anymore. I think that might have gotten taken down, so you remind me, I gotta walk around, make sure it's there unless some transient tore it down. But I gotta remind myself to walk around and look at it. And again, I appreciate what you guys do. My dad was in narcotics with him at PD for a long time back in the day, back in the 80s. And that's back then, they couldn't have beers unless you were narcotics. You can grow a beard out. And so he was very excited about those opportunities, so. But anyways, I just want to appreciate, thank you for your guys' work and your effort and what you guys do. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
With that, we're going to go ahead and open up public hearing. Are there any members present or online that has a comment?
No, Chair.
Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and close it and just receive and file the presentation. No motion needed, Greg. Okay.
I hope our image gets improved throughout the communities up and down California.
Yeah, it's not good to be on training videos.
Yeah.
All right, action item 6B, presentation of the City of Hemet's new enterprise permitting and licensing software. Mr. Jordan Walton.
Speaking of that.
False alarm.
All the way out to the parking lot.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. Jordan Walton, Associate Planner with the Community Development Department. Tonight, we are going to do a presentation on city staff's favorite topic, which is the Tyler Enterprise EPL And just for reference, I do have about 36 slides. I'll be demoing this, pretty much our new permit processing system. So I imagine you're going to have a lot of questions. If you would like to help me out and just write down a particular slide, if you want me to go back to it after I'm done with my presentation so that we can discuss it further, I really appreciate that. But to begin, this project aligns with the strategic plan integration goals 2, 4, and 5. And a little bit of history, the city adopted a permit processing that we've currently been using for the past 20 years. So if any one of you have filed a permit, license, or obtained a certificate of occupancy within the past 20 years, we've been using this system called Trackit. A lot of the design for Trackit has been outdated, and many of the people that first implemented Trackit have long since either retired or moved on to a new profession or a new jurisdiction since its integration. So a lot of the institutional knowledge how to run the system has been lost over the next few years. And of course, going back to the fact that it is outdated, the city council elected to adopt a new permitting system. And after a bid process, we decided to go with Tyler. So Tyler is a comprehensive public sector focused software solutions designed for local governments. And then, as I mentioned, as we reviewed several of these throughout the United States, we decided to go with Tyler. And I feel like a running theme with this presentation is that we cannot talk about the new implementation of Tyler without talking about Trackit. So some of the key things that we lacked with Trackit was the absence of notification of permit submittals, no automated alerts for upcoming or overdue reviews, limited capability to accept electronic submittals for entitlement projects, and insufficient functionality to coordinate interdepartmental reviews. So essentially with Tyler, or with Trackit, excuse me, all of the planning entitlement applications that have come before you as your term as planning commissioners was mainly facilitated through 3 systems. First one obviously being Trackit to create the record, email as a form of communication, and to send the corrections to the applicant, and as well as our local SharePoint to be able to store the records. And some of the information can get lost as we transfer through and navigate through these 3 different systems. And it's because it can become challenging to properly evaluate each and every application that we receive and review, as we have several dozen permits and plan and projects that we can process at any given time. And of course, some of these projects, like our larger projects, can run over a course of several years and can change the hands of several different staff members during the lifetime of its project. Some of the housing development projects that were approved in 2020, 2021 are still ongoing from its infancy when the project was first submitted to when it was approved by the Planning Commission or the City Council, and to the permitting stage when they're finally trying to pull their permits to grade and to actually build and construct those single-family residential homes. So it's very important for staff to be able to correctly monitor and evaluate each project in a timely manner and make sure that we have the up-to-date information for every single project, every single time. So that's why we decided to go with Tyler, because we believe that'll be a solution to our problem that we were having. And it will not only be something that will help the planning side and community development, but it'll also help the building and safety side. It'll help the engineering, it'll help fire, and it'll help business licensing as well. As I mentioned, we can't talk about Tyler without talking about Trackit. So this is a screenshot of a permit submittal that was reviewed and approved through Trackit within the past year. This project first started in October of 2025, and they received their approval for this permit in February of 2026. Now, if you could turn your attention to the plan reviews that has the number 27 next to it, You can see that there were several reviews that were sent out for this review. I just want to emphasize that what city staff has to do in order to get these projects along. Each one of those reviews that you see had to be manually inputted by the building technician and sent out manually to city staff in order for this review to occur. Every time that we sent out a correction or a review or left a note, the person that submitted that correction had to notify the building technician either through email, through Teams, or through word of mouth that the submittal was sent and the corrections have been identified. Once they receive that information, they'll relay it back to the applicant so that they can come back so they can review the corrections, maybe have a conversation with city staff before they actually implement the corrections, and then they'll send the corrections back to us where, again, the building technician will have to manually go in and assign the new review to each person or department that would need to look at it. So as you can see, it's a very inefficient process. This one in particular, I just want to point out, this is the financial side of it. As you can see on the description, there is a fee description for each one of the fees. I just want to also note that the person who did this, the building technician that did this, had to go in and individually put in each fee, not the amount, but and find it through the description of each and every different possible fee that could be applied to it by reviewing the submittal, seeing what they're here for, and then charging the correct amount. So as you can see, also a very time-consuming process, as they have to know that have the knowledge to be able to do this every single time. So you can imagine that the training process in order to actually fill a position like this could also take substantial time, as the system that we currently have is working against staff, as we need to make sure that we're doing every single thing right every single time. That, we've pretty much mitigated pretty much all of that with the new system that we have been working on for almost the past 2 years. This is the home page. This will be the home page to our new system that will be launching in the coming days, and I will announce the expected go live date at the end of this presentation. But this is where any person who wants to do electronic submittal wants to submit their permit. They could register. Anybody can register. It doesn't have to also be a licensed contractor, as we issue permits for various different types of things, including home occupation permits, food truck permits, anything like that does not need a contractor's license. But they'll go in the top right-hand corner to register, and they'll be able to put in their information and start the process. They'll also be able to, if you point your attention to the black bar, they'll also be able to apply for any permit that we have available online. On the registration slide, this is kind of what it looks like. You'll put in your name, your company name, your phone name, and your business phone number, as well as your email, and you'll be able to start right away. This is where the applicant will be able to apply for any permit that is available on our website that we choose to make available. Not every permit that we have will be available online. For example, our commercial cannabis business permit will not be available online, as we have the exact amount of commercial cannabis retailers that we can have per our population. If city ordinance or state law changes and the city decides to reopen it to allow more, or one decides to drop off and we have the ability to add another one, we may pursue the opportunity to have that permit online during the duration of the time period which they can submit. And then once they submitted their application, we can take it right off. But as you can see, this is a snippet. Obviously, there's more if I had the capability of scrolling down right now. But these are examples of the type of permits that they could submit. And if you pay attention to the first horizontal red bar, again, we cover business licensing, permits that you can pull through building, and then our course under plan is mostly and mainly our entitlement projects that people can now apply in online, which is a first for the city, as we were only accepting in-person applications or applications through mail. When you first apply, this is what the screen will look like. You have 7 steps in order to submit your permit or your entitlement. which the first step is uploading your location. You can't see it right now, and I'm actually unsure if it's available for the mapping side, but you will be, city staff will have the ability for the first time to be able to be able to look up aerial view of a project, click on it, and be able to start creating a record for a permit or a plan instead of having to put the address or the APN. This is an example of the type of permit for this demonstration. I chose to do a conditional use permit and gave it a test description, but they'll be able to select any type of permit or plan type in this situation. For example, this may be a situation where they would either apply for a conditional use permit or they'll be able to apply for a conditional use permit and modification, and they'll be able to do it from the screen. They have the capability of uploading their contact information, such as the applicant or the owner. And they'll be able to fill out general questions about the conditional use permit process. In this particular section, this is a little bit outdated. I do have another example that kind of shows what it's probably going to look like. But they'll be able to upload information or fill out data, or city staff will be able to fill out data to be able to answer certain questions for the conditional use permit process. And I just want to point out that this section right here is probably one of the most important parts of the Tyler integration, because this section allows us to trigger automatic fees and be able to invoice fees automatically instead of a city staff member having to go in, each itemize one and upload it. We've specifically rigged it so that that the answers to your question triggers certain fees from either adding on to the invoice or not adding on to the invoice. And of course, as a safeguard, when someone submits their application online, instead of them getting an invoice at the end of their submittal, city staff will have the opportunity to go in and review it first to make sure that they've answered the questions properly and then send them the bill so that they don't get an incorrect fee. This section, we will not accept incomplete applications. This section is required for them to be able to submit their application. These are required in order for us to set the submittal for review. And this is pretty standard as far as the information that we need in order to process an application. So if they're not ready or they just want to try to submit an application, the system won't let them unless they can fill out each and every attachment. And of course, if they have questions about anyone, we're more than happy to help them out with filling out the attachments. And of course, at the end of it, they just sign their name and the application is submitted. Now, once it's submitted, question is, what does it look like on city side? This is what it will look like on city side. If you can take a look at it, this bar tab, every single staff member, instead of what we've been working in Trackit, will now have the access to this. If you have code enforcement, obviously we'll have the code cases, building and safety and planning will have the inspections, and then of course any permits or plans that they're working on will be monitored through here instead of a bar like it is in Trackit. So as soon as any staff member comes in the morning and logs in, they'll be able to instantly see what they're working on and what's due, what's overdue, what's active, and when they need to go out and do inspections. This side here is a real time as far as recent cases that have been generated in the system that you could have been working on recently. So it's just a quick tab for you to be able to look at. And this side here is the current active reviews for your cases. And this is where the mock permit that you saw on the previous screen was submitted to. It shows that currently there's 3 reviews that this person has to look at or review. And as soon as they click that button, they'll be able to go ahead and do that. With this system, we are now licensed with Bluebeam, which is a permit. I like to call it a permit redlining system where we can go in and mark up the plans and send it back to them. So this is what it looks like when the review is submitted. You can see which projects that you have for review. There's another tab next to incomplete reviews where it shows completed reviews that you've completed. Here is what it will look like if you were to go in the system. and look at what was actually submitted. If you can tell, this is the conditional use permit that was created prior. It shows you step by step what the project number is, what the address associated is, what date the application was submitted, which is very important as it relates to the Permit Streamlining Act. And the plan review status, clearly it shows it's in review as it was just received, as well as it can tell you the amount of fees that were due and that have not been paid for the permit. You also have access to the applicant name and their phone number. This is probably going to be my favorite feature, which allows for the workflow completion summary. You can get a summary and a progress checklist as far as when things have been completed and what still needs to be done. And I just want to keep this in mind as it'll come up later. And then, of course, there's another window here. Instead of a pie chart, it has this graph for you here. I can show you where the permit is at, or the plan is at. And I just want to note, if you saw on the previous screen with the CUP, this will probably come up a couple of months after it launches, but we are moving to a new permit number process. Instead of the 5 digits, we are going to 8 digits. And just a little bit of tidbit here. The first 2 numbers will be the year. The second 2 numbers will be the month. And then the last 4 digits will be the number that it was accepted within that month and year. Here's an example of what an invoice will look like. It still has our old logo. Of course, it'll be updated to our new logo. But this will be an example of an invoice that members of the public will receive for their application. This is where all the magic will happen for city staff now. We will now be able to correctly track and monitor how a review goes into the system. Like I said, as mentioned previously, this was just monitored through 3 systems: Trackit, email, and our local share drive. Now it will all be integrated into this one application. And instead of, again, with the training, involved with the training as far as training city staff in order to train them on how an application intake goes in, the review process, and who needs to look at it, it's all integrated, and we've mitigated the who reviews what for each and every permit. And I just really want to emphasize that, because that's always been a question that we've had, or a problem that we've had with the city, especially when new people are brought on board, is who reviews what and when do they reviews what. For example, a solar project, a roof-mounted solar project, I should say, it does not go through planning. We don't look at it. They need to be in and out within 5 days. It's not an extensive review. As long as they meet all the requirements, we do not need to review it. But here and there, we will get a review in our system for a roof-mounted solar, either through staff error or whatever it may be, which is fine. With this new system, we've set each and every work class to send it to the people that need to review it every single time. So there is no more who needs to review it, when do they need to review it, or if someone does need to review it, but they weren't sent the review, that's no longer going to happen, because we went through each and every different permit and plan and made sure that whoever needs to have eyes on it has eyes on it. And that's really where this happens. As far as reviews, let's just say someone needs to skip a review, or they say this person doesn't need to look at it at this time. There will be accountability as well. First, if you skip a review or a phase in our project or in our process, you will need to give a reason. The system will not allow you to proceed if you do not give a reason. And it will also tell you here who skipped the review. And of course, they would have to give why. So there can also be a discussion as far as why something was skipped when it didn't need to be skipped, but that is something the system is capable of doing. And then here is, of course, where the development or the review process is. In this case, since it's a CUP, building will see it, water will see it, engineering will see it, public works will see it, building will see it. Everyone will see these types of projects. And of course, for things like permits and plans, the right people will also see it. Just also want to say that this also helps with the, I would say, the double review that we have in the city. For something like a sign permit, just because of the way that the Trackit works, we're currently processing that through 2 different systems. One review through planning and a separate review through building that happens after planning. Many have vocalized that this is very inconvenient as they're talking to two different people, essentially to them about the same thing, and I would agree it would be about the same thing. With this system, we try to put ourselves in the customer's shoes and think about what they need, right? They came in here to get a sign. That's what they did, all right? They don't care about what needs a permit, what doesn't need a permit. They just want something that says they can put their sign up. And we really thought about that, so we made sure that instead of them having to do double work twice, it's on the responsibility of city staff to get them in and out with one application instead of 2, 3, or 4. And that's kind of what we did. We did as much consolidation with the system as much as possible to ensure that each and every person can get the service that they need in an expedited fashion. And really, again, that's what happens on this section, right? Instead of them having to apply twice, they can just apply once, and it's sent to everybody who needs to ever review this permit or plan, and they can get the service that they need. To go back to the customer-facing side, this is what it will look like once they submit their application. If you see here at the bottom, that pending review was the initial conditional use permit that you saw at the beginning. It shows that this customer in particular only has one review, and they will be able to review it. I did mention to pay attention to the pie chart that I showed you earlier. They will have access to the pie chart, so they can see who and where they are in the process. For something like an entitlement process, of course, it is a lengthy. We need department reviews, we need conditions of approval. So in this case, they're right there in the department development review process, and this can take however long it needs to take. Of course, it depends on what the project is. Sometimes the environmental review can take a little bit longer, and this is where they're going to be at until that's finished. This is where the review section is going to be at. Now they'll be able to know who needs to still review what, which has never been done before in the city. It's usually the responsibility of the planner to ensure where they were in the process. And now both the planner and the applicant will now be able to review this screen to see who still needs to review it. In this case, planning and zoning and building have already signed off on it, and we still need comments from water, public works, police, and fire. And they'll be able to know who they need to talk to about that. This section here, not only do the applicants have the ability to create records, but city staff also has the ability to create records, and this is where it will be done. If you look here, it's the same setup as far as the 7 workflows that we need to go through to be able to submit a plan or a permit. And I want to draw your attention to the address here, as right now it's currently blank, but our team and the Tyler team are working right now, trying to get a working map for us so that, again, it gives city staff more flexibility to be able to find parcels in the city, as they'll be able to point out certain records and be able to assign records, change APNs, or do whatever they need to do in the system. And again, is the administrative use permit process, or a CUP. It's not very much different from our side, but this is more of an updated review process that we're going to have as far as the questions that we're going to have. This one gives a little bit more flexibility as far as what they need to submit, and it's more accurate as far as calculating fees, as any and every type of fee that can be assessed to a record, may it be an AUP with a variance or a parcel map or a tentative tract map, whatever it may be, we'll be able to correctly assess fees from this sheet. Again, getting rid of what we're doing right now, which is having to manually go in and put each and every fee in for every single permit or plan, which sometimes could take a few hours. It's afraid to admit. And I tested this one with current city staff members as well, and they were able to get it done in less than 15 minutes. So it was a record of a high-profile, high-fee-related project that was invoiced within the past year, which did take a couple hours to make, and like I said, they got it done in 15 minutes. And then from this, we have some familiar faces as the applicants for this mock. Again, we'll be able to put in the applicant information, and the system is also smart enough to be able to, once you put someone's information in once, it will save it I believe forever, don't quote me on that, but if someone attempts to make a duplicate record with the same information, the same phone number, the system will automatically trigger and show you that if these records are actually the same, and it will, at that point, you can prompt it to just pick the one that's already existing so that we're not creating duplicate records all the time. And then, of course, this is another example just based off the questions that was answered on the 2 slides before. It will automatically generate a fee so that city staff does not have to waste time questioning whether which and what of fees apply. And then here it is. You're back to the same screen that you were before once you open up the review. And as soon as the fees are paid, you'll be able to go through the review process again. And I believe the next slide is for the go live date, and the projected go live date with this will be July 27th, 2026, right after the next fiscal year. And that includes my presentation. I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jordan, for that presentation. It's about time we can get things streamlined here. Commissioner Viramontes, you want to speak?
Yeah, thanks for that, Jordan. What other cities use Tyler Technologies, and do they have any feedback?
We didn't seek outside counsel when it came to for Tyler. I believe the city of Coachella also uses it. We're unclear on the success of it, but there was a time where we were going to do cross training, but we realized that wasn't necessary. Yeah.
How do you feel about the new interface?
I think it will work great, to say the least. Obviously, it will take a little bit of training on city staff's part, on my part, to make sure that everybody knows how to use it correctly. And I'm actually working on a how-to guideline, just so that it's there for anybody to look at. But I think this system is more of a system for 2020 and not a system for 2025, or 2005, excuse me. It does have, it was very challenging to put together. I do believe that out of the ones that the permit type, the EPLs that we selected, this is one of the more challenging ones just because of the amount of effort you have to put into it to make it work. Their selling point, or Tyler's selling point, is that it's build your own. So we had to spend substantial staff time, and substantial meetings, and meeting with Tyler, other departments, and things like that to get it to work. We programmed it ourselves, essentially, and it's going to reflect in the clientele that we have here. We took into consideration of who we work with, the members of the public, in order to design the system. So I think from a user standpoint, if the work is put in, which I do believe we have put in the appropriate amount of work to make it work, it's going to be great for the public.
Great, that's great to hear. Will the applicant get notifications when something has been approved or denied? Like, will they get an email, or do they have to just keep checking the dashboard?
So they're going to get an email through the dashboard. So if something updates in the dashboard, they're going to receive an email that says, hey, something's been updated in the dashboard, and they'll be able to look at it.
Gotcha. And then one question, or last question. I don't know if the fees were correct, but one of them said CEQA category exempt. There's still a fee for that, even if you're exempt?
That's correct. We still have to file with the state clearinghouse and file with the county clerk for a CEQA determination so that it's classified as exempt, and that's what that fee is for. That fee is strictly for the recordation fee is for what the county clerk charges. So they send us a bill at the end of the year letting us know that we did this amount of exemption. So that's what the purpose of collecting that fee is for, so that we can send it back to them. And then the exemption fee is for staff's time to be able to send it to the state clearinghouse for review and approval, and then that's when it gets sent to the county.
All right, thank you. Yeah, it seems like you guys are excited on the back end, so it's good to see that we're getting a little modern on the planning side or a city side. No other questions?
Commissioner Hill?
Thank you, Jordan. Very great. Good. It's about time, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Can you go back to page 10?
Sure. Page 10.
Yeah, so I see the bar up there where you got all trending license permits, right?
Right.
If I click on permit, does it list all the permits that are available to me for submittal?
Yes.
Oh, it does, okay. And the same for licensing?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. Good, thank
Absolutely.
you.
You're welcome.
Page 28, please.
28. Page 28.
Okay, so I'm interested, and I think this is it, but what is the applicant or the user seeing as a breadcrumb progress for what their application is? Is it this here?
No. So it's this page here on page 27.
It's that,
Under
okay.
workflow. It
Okay.
has, it's step by step what they need to do. You can't see it fully, but after conditions of approval for public works, it's a check mark for city staff's record to send the public hearing notices associated with the project. And then after that will be the planning commission, which would be, for this, would be one of the last steps in the process. And then it also has a section for the CEQA determination, and that will get checked mark once that CEQA is filed. And then once the chair signs the resolution and it's submitted to the applicant, that'll be the last check mark. And then after that, we'll be able to close the project.
Okay. So this is what the applicant sees right here on the
Correct.
website. And this is available to the entire public?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Even with the?
Well, not to the entire public. I'm sorry, I misinterpreted your question. It would only be available to the applicant. We're in the process and thinking about a separate, usually through a GIS map, to kind of show the overall and current entitlements within the city. But this section in particular for the workflow would only be available to the applicant.
Okay, all right, good. What was the go-live date again? You went through that real quick.
It would be June 27, 2026.
June?
July 27, 2026, excuse me.
Okay. And I'm a little hesitant to ask this question, but due to the efficiency of this system, does that mean that any of these fees would get reduced for the applicants?
We're currently going through a fees study right now. Some of the fees are currently being evaluated by our community development director and our city's consultant. It's a comprehensive fee review, so fees from planning, building, engineering are currently being reviewed, and maybe some other fees from different departments. But from our recollection, some fees are increasing, some are decreasing. It just depends on what we believe the amount of staff time that it will take to process it. So we're going through a comprehensive fee study right now.
Okay.
And that's kind of why we pushed the release date of this to the end of July instead of the beginning of July, because we do have that new fee study coming out and it hasn't been approved by council yet. So it would be inappropriate to have it go live when we're still trying to figure out or inputting the fees in for the new fee schedule.
Okay. But administration and update of this system is easy, moderate, hard, what? I mean, as time goes on, things are going to change.
Right.
Fees are going to change.
Of course. I still think that the overall review process won't change. It'll make it a little bit more seamless, but when we talk about staff time, we're mainly talking about the time that it takes to review, make a staff report, write the conditions of approval from each different department, which that in of itself won't change very much.
Okay, but is there somebody that is in charge of this Tyler system?
There isn't a part, we're going to have subject matter experts in each and every department. I'm going to be the subject matter experts from my department. And of course, each and every different department will have their go-to person, but there isn't necessarily a designated person that's going to oversee it in its totality. We do have certain people will have privileged access to it. Currently, while we're not live, everyone has privileges to be able to access the full power of the system. Once we go live, that's going to be limited to key staff members so that not everybody can go in and start changing up how the system works.
Okay, so a super user.
Yes.
Okay, what about integration into state laws, local laws, our code enforcement, that kind of stuff? Is that going to get integrated as pop-ups for certain conditions of approval and so forth and so on? You know what I'm getting at?
Yes, I actually love that, but this will just be strictly on the permitting and the planning side, being able to review the records. We're still going to have to go into our municipal code currently and be able to, analyze it and be able to input that data into the system. Right now, really one of the only one thing that the system can do that we're implementing is that it can notify us when a review is overdue. So particularly for our entitlements, we've set when an entitlement is submitted, we've have the review date to 15 days after it's submitted, and after those 15 days will be overdue in the system. Now that's more of a safeguard so that we are aware of the shot clock for the Permit Streamlining Act, which is 30 days, for us to be able to respond to an application. And that we set it to 15 days so that if it happens to go over review, we still have another 15 days to be able to review it so that we're consistent with that state law.
Okay. So once you go live and this is out there in production, do you have any kind of roadmap or anything for enhancements down the road?
Not a roadmap for enhancements down the line. Tyler pretty much gave us everything that they can possibly do with the system. And if they roll out an update, city staff may be inclined to take a look at it. But right now, with the system, it's as much as up to date as can possibly be on our side. Maybe there's a third party thing like Bluebeam that we can connect to the system to be able to help us review it. I haven't heard of anything like that yet. Maybe Tyler will partner with a company to allow us to do that. But right now, what we're focused on is going live with the system, because as a relative of mine always says, who works in software, the most stressful part about launching a system is right before and right after. We want to make sure the system works. We anticipate that we're probably going to be scrambling after the go live date as we figure out that certain things in the systems don't work while others work really well. And of course, we have to coordinate to fix those issues.
Okay. Has your IT department scanned for vulnerabilities for cybersecurity issues?
IT has no problems with the system itself. The Tyler system is really facilitated through the finance department. This is more, if we have any security issues with it, of course, they'll be able to chime in, but we also have Tyler to be able to, who will still be on call to be able to help us out with any issues and then give us any solutions to any problems that we may face.
Not the answer I was looking for. Okay, thank you. I think that's a discussion to have. Thank you.
Thanks, Jordan. So EMWD just went live in January with Workday for our ERP, and we are also using Tyler for our DSMS project, and the go-live date is continually being pushed back. I guess my, I would, change is hard, and you touched on it. I think at least from my experience, it's at least with the Workday side and what we're anticipating on the Tyler side. There's a lot of things that you don't expect that will come up that are going to. Well, first off, I empathize with you being a subject matter expert because I know how much time it takes outside of your normal job to do this, because I have one of my staff that's doing the same thing, and it's pretty frustrating on how much time that they're having to spend on all the testing and everything else. but I guess I would not caution, but just from a lessons learned perspective, consider possibly some temp help, something to help augment staff, because there's going to be some challenges. I promise that there will be some challenges. And then also, in kind of to Commissioner Hill's question on scalability or future modification, or I think that was you, but one of the things that we're seeing at least is, well, we can't change that now because we're too far down the road. We'll have to wait until the next update. And I think that is constricting quite a bit. So hopefully and since it sounds like city staff is doing the brunt of the development. So hopefully that will facilitate if you need to be making modifications, if you see problems, if you see changes, you can do that kind of on the fly. A couple specific questions. So you mentioned the Bluebeam. We also use Bluebeam. That's a very powerful tool, especially as it relates to not only interdepartmental reviews, but interagency reviews. We now utilize Bluebeam for multi-agency approvals on documents, and that's been a very, very valuable addition to our process in terms of streamlining it. It allows for kind of real-time review of comments, and so if there's an interest in learning more about that from our group, would be happy to coordinate that. On the electronic submittals, is the city looking at CAD files by chance as one of the potential submittal requirements?
I don't believe at this time we're looking into that. Just the standard PDF files of the required documents that we have outlined in the system.
So just as a tool, the CAD data, getting the point line and polygon data of a tentative map, or to help address conditions, if you establish CAD standards and those files are submitted in compliance with those standards, you have the ability for basically a drag and drop function into GIS, and it makes for an extremely useful tool of getting the real line work or the detail work that the engineer or the landscape architect or whoever is doing, and bringing that directly in and not having to recreate that from a PDF. So something to consider. This is web-based, right?
Correct.
Is there a timeout feature for cybersecurity?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a timeout.
So that is one of my biggest frustrations with Workday, not entirely yet, because of the cybersecurity. If you don't have activity within a certain amount of time, I think ours is 30 minutes, it times out, and then you got to start all over again. And that is one of the biggest frustrating pieces of this. And so work with IT. We're trying to get that extended. We're having a hard time doing it, but you get a phone call, you get pulled away from what you're doing, and then you end up having to go back and start all over again. It doesn't work that way, because you can't save it until you go to the next step. So. Is there? Are you looking also at any? So like on this one, not on the screen you're showing, but you had another one where it goes to water. In the areas of the city where, like, EMWD is your water and sewer provider, is there any thought of tying it into maybe a coordination step with the outside agency?
Yes, funnily enough, we actually had a meeting with the EMWD in January that discussed that. The department that we met with were very interested, as they also mentioned that they're integrating from Tyler and using Bluebeam, and they were open to the idea of cross agency coordination to receive those submittals for projects within their district.
I got goosebumps. We're starting to actually coordinate. That's cool. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. I guess just words of caution and not condolences, but empathy for you, because we're going through it, and it's a change in culture.
Absolutely.
You know, everyone's accustomed to a certain way of doing things, and then this ends up being an additive effort on their day-to-day work, and that ends up affecting a lot of things. And so I would just, we're at this point, we're looking, I mean, silly things like just paying invoices or processing payments or things of that nature, and how much time that's taking, we're looking at bringing in temp staff to kind of help with that. So I would just encourage the city to be prepared for that, to help augment what's going to happen when you do go live and implement it.
I would just also like to add that City Council also foresaw that when they adopted the resolution to enter an agreement with Tyler. They also adopted a resolution specifically for city staff to be able to hire temp employees or to pay for overtime to help out with the integration of Tyler. So we've been taking advantage of that since the infancy of it back in November 2024, and we expect our key staff members who have been helping us out with that to stay after the go live day.
Very good. All right, well, I wish the city the absolute best of luck.
Thank you.
I think the city of Temecula also uses Tyler as well, just from doing, I could be wrong, but from the homework I was doing with this Tyler, they have over 13,000 locations across 50 states that they have contracts with. And Temecula, Rancho Cordova, and some other cities are a part of that. Couple of things they did say, though, is my understanding we're paying them $2.6 million in a course of 10 years.
Yes.
And one of the things they did mention is to be careful with the exit costs if we ever find a different vendor within those 10 years. Is it 10 years the minimum that we have with this company, or can we do 5, or is the minimum is 10 with Tyler?
I actually don't know what the minimum is. That would be through your administrative services department, as they were the ones that help execute the agreement with Tyler. I can meet with them, and we can get you an answer on that. But as far as I'm concerned, I believe the minimum is 10 years.
Because I know with technology changing, especially with AI, 10 years is a long ways.
Right.
5 years, a lot of things can happen in 5 years with AI technology. I hate to see the city spend $2.6 million in a 10-year time frame to this company when we might find something that's more integrated, more sufficient in 5 years from now. And so that's 10 years is a long time. That's the issue I have with this whole contract. And another thing is price caps. Are there extra fees that Tyler might be impacting on us over time or are we price capped? They can't raise the fees on us for the next.
I'm not too sure about the price cap. We can pay for extra services at any time, and that's something that we've taken advantage of during the process. For example, we paid a little bit of extra money for automatic reports. And reports is a blanket term. I would like to call it more of like templates that we can use. So example, we paid Tyler to have a template ready for us when we just enter certain information about a project or something that we're working on, such as a certificate of occupancy. It will automatically generate their occupancy certificate for printout. It will automatically we also did it for our notice of violations and anything related to our code case. It will automatically generate a letter or a notice of violation associated with the violation, and they'll be automatically sent out. So those are examples of extra services that we paid for. And I imagine that there are other services that we declined as we didn't feel the need for in our city. But I'm not actually aware of if that dollar amount, that quote we got is a cap.
Okay. Couple other questions. Obviously, we don't have access to this, so we can follow up if somebody's saying, what's going on with my project? We can't look at it. It's just between you and the applicant.
Correct. They may be able to look up this information through public records requests, but this information will not be, and of course, they'll have to follow all of the rules and regulations associated with the Public Records Request Act. But this will not be, this section that you're seeing on the screen right now will not be readily available for any members of the public. As I mentioned, one of our long-term projects is that we're trying to open up something up for the public that they can review and look at all the active projects within the city, but that won't be connected to Tyler.
Okay. And back to what Commissioner Hill was saying about the bar across, we have permits and licensing. You click on that and it gives you the list of what you can click on. For example, like the fence or sign. When they click on that, is there a link that they can see what the city general plan requires of that? Or do they still have to contact staff and say, hey, what's my signage? How many feet do I need? And which will take staff time up by answering those questions.
So when you submit a permit, I'll have it pulled up here. When you submit a permit, for our entitlements, we didn't include it, but for our other permits and for our more lengthy day-to-day things, such as a home occupation permit, where we're trying to register a home address for an office use, we have a disclaimer form where a section where there's the rules and the regulations that they have to abide for the term of the permit, and they have to sign that at the bottom like you see here. I do believe we can add links to it, so that may be something that we consider after we go live, if we feel the need to actually link the municipal code section that is associated with it. That will probably need more discussion, as sometimes our codes do change, and failure to update the section in our municipal code might give certain applicants the false impression that they can do something when they in fact cannot anymore.
I'm just trying to figure out ways to reduce staff time. So
Right.
I imagine things like that, they would be calling you, asking you for those questions, and you would have to spend your time and answer them.
I imagine for small things like fence permits and things of that nature, I would say 9 out of 8 out of 10 times, most property owners or their contractors call the city beforehand and they ask what the code sections, or they just come to the front counter. I don't imagine that the system will mitigate that, as they just want to know where the question is always, where can they submit their permit and how would they be able to do it? So for our more experienced contractors, once we have that initial conversation, they may already have the link to the municipal code and just refer to it. But for everyday property owners, I imagine they're still going to do the same thing, which is call, email, and come to the front counter before they apply.
And so the last one I have is, for example, like over-the-counter permits. You know,
Right.
people can come in, get the permit, and go and build the same day. They would still have to come in the office, even with this system being integrated, or can they handle that remotely and attach what they're proposed? And
So we're still exploring options as far as what we're going to do long-term with the system. I would imagine as we start, we're not trying to completely change the process as soon as we go live, as that may be difficult for both staff and the members of the public to adjust to, especially as we're still getting familiar with the system, as certain key staff members obviously have verse knowledge in it, but other staff members, within the next few months, they'll get more familiar with it, and of course, they're going to have to learn once it go live. So when it's first launched, people will still be able to submit their plans and their permits and things of that nature over the counter, and we will still review it. And as I demonstrated here, is that in those situations, city staff still has the capability of adding those records without it being submitted electronically. But for our more tech-savvy members of the public, if they don't want to come into the front counter or business hours isn't convenient to them, as that may be their typical work time, and they can go home after the workday and they'll be able to submit their permit just fine. We'll make each option available for them once the process goes live.
All right, I think that's about it. I just concerned with the 10 years. I mean, 10 years is a long time, and technology is changing the last 2 years rapidly, especially with the AI. So I just wish maybe we had a 5-year deal on 1.3 million instead of 2.6 for 10. Other than that, any other questions for staff?
One.
Go ahead, John.
Real quick, are we fully fee-based, or are there any of those that are deposit-based?
For the most part, I believe, at least I'm not going to speak for other departments, but from the planning side, we're trying to move away from the deposit basis and use the base amount of fees as much as possible. Now, for certain projects, like let's say for our tentative track maps, we do charge a base fee, plus we charge a small fee for each lot that's going to be associated with the project. And that's pretty much going to be it. It's just those itemized fees as well as our base fees. We're really trying to move away from the deposit-based fee structure as much as possible.
Gotcha.
You good? So I want to go back to the cybersecurity topic. So Jordan, Monique, when you do a software launch like this, you're most vulnerable at that time to cybersecurity and bad actors out there. And I would strongly suggest that you get a hold of Tyler and find out what they're doing to shore up the software so there's no vulnerabilities. There are other options if you don't like what you hear from them. There are consulting firms that will come in with what they call a flyaway kit. They'll come in, they'll hook it up to the system and tell you where your vulnerabilities are. Not only in this system, but the entire network that you have. And you're talking about connecting into maybe other systems like the water agency. And as soon as you do that, you're opening yourself up again. So I would really caution to really take a look at that. It's no joke. I mean, our company is getting hit with 3,000 to 10,000 hits a day trying to penetrate our system. So, and now with the advent of AI, the bad actors are taking advantage of that with cybersecurity as well. So I would just, bottom line, make sure it's safe. That's it. Thank you.
Any other questions for Jordan? Nope. All right, thank you very much, Jordan. With that, we're going to go ahead and open up public comment for anybody here or online.
No, weird.
And nobody's here or online, so we're going to close it. And obviously, we went to discussion, but we want to make sure that we note in the receiving file that we are concerned about the cybersecurity, as well as, I just think 10 years is a long time. I mean, software changes so fast, and we can find something else, and I'm just worried that we're locked into a 10-year deal, and then we'll get penalized for backing out of a contract. And I would just like to see, I know it's going to take us a year to get used to the system or more, but that's just my opinion. I think 10 years is a long time.
Yeah, but the price may be associated with that 10-year.
Yeah.
So,
Even if 5 is half that, then I don't know.
And it takes so long to develop and implement that it's kind of like a return on investment. There's a balance there somewhere. Every time you start over, But yeah, no, it is changing quickly.
Okay, with that, we're going to go ahead and receive and file. I don't need to hammer that. I don't need to do that. And we're going to move on to discussion items, so discussing action items from our city attorney.
Great job, Jordan, by the way.
Yes.
You definitely, you can tell that you know it very well.
Definitely did his homework.
He probably has dreams about it.
Good evening, Commissioners. Leila Sawari, Assistant City Attorney. Tonight I'll be providing a brief overview of Senate Bill 330. This is our agenda for tonight, pretty much a roadmap. Don't let these 12 items make you fret. A lot of these are correlated with each other, so we'll touch on each of these items. We will begin with why was SB 330 enacted. I know we've discussed this pretty briefly in the past, but I'd like to start from its inception. SB 330 was a direct legislative response to California's housing supply crisis. As we know, California is experiencing a housing supply crisis with demand far outstripping supply. In 2018, California ranked 49th out of the 50 states in housing units per capita. Its intent was to limit local agencies' ability to disapprove a project, except for limited circumstances. And I also like to note that in its inception, it was really, the vision of this was for about 7 counties. It wasn't for the whole state to take on, but now here we are. The state of California is needing to follow the SB 330, so I thought that was interesting. SB 330, it amended both the Housing Accountability Act and the Permit Streamlining Act. SB 330 operates by amending both the, as I mentioned, Housing Accountability Act and the PSA, and added new procedural tools, most notably the preliminary application process and the 5-hearing limitation, which I will discuss in the upcoming slides. So what projects does SB 330 apply to? Essentially, almost any housing project, apartment buildings, condos, mixed-use developments, transitional housing. If it has at least one residential unit, it likely qualifies. It does not apply to a mixed commercial and residential uses, not meeting residential use requirements, general or community plan amendments, rezones, variances, one single-family residence for the purposes of HAA under the government code. However, I'd like to note that under the PSA, the Permit Streamlining Act, or 5-hearing limit, one single-family residence would count as a housing project. Now we go into the preliminary applications. Preliminary application, also known as the PA, under SB 330 allows eligible housing development projects to submit a preliminary application. A preliminary application is deemed complete when all project information required under the code is submitted and upon payment of the permit processing fee. So to think of this simply, I like to think of it as an early notice of intent to build housing. It is filed before planning, a full planning application. So when a preliminary application is filed, the following all get frozen in time, so essentially locked in as of that date of filing. The zoning and general plan standards, development policies and conditions, development impact fees, and connection charges. The city or county cannot apply new zoning rules, design standards, and local ordinances or policies after a preliminary application is deemed complete. The preliminary application expires if a full application is not filed within 180 days of submittal. So if it's not filed within the 180 days, the developer needs to reapply and do a resubmission. A housing development project loses its deemed submitted status if the proponent revises the project such that the number of residential units or square footage of construction changes by 20% or more. Then it would be, essentially the PA would expire. So now the next step is once the city receives a PA, it has to meet certain deadlines. So within 30 days of receipt, city must review the application for completeness. The city must confirm in writing the application is complete. If it's incomplete, the city must also provide notice of all required information that is missing. If no response within 30 days, it would automatically deem an application complete. The city must provide the right to appeal to the Planning Commission, City Council, or both. Within 90 days of an incomplete determination, the applicant must submit the missing information or the underlying PA will expire. The city must post a list of zoning ordinance and development standards that apply to each parcel and the information needed to deem an application complete. Once the preliminary application is submitted and it's complete according to city staff, the developer will then submit a development application. Once an application is deemed complete, the city must review the application for consistency with any applicable objective plan, program, policy standards, or other requirements. If the city fails to identify inconsistencies, the project is deemed to be consistent with all objective planning standards. And exceptions to this is if a project has specific adverse impact on public health or safety that cannot otherwise be mitigated. This is a very difficult standard to achieve. Now let's understand what an objective development standard means. Under the Government Code 65589.5H9, it's defined as involving no personal or subjective judgment by a public official and being uniformly verifiable by reference to an external and uniform benchmark or criterion available and knowledgeable by both the development applicant or proponent and the public official. So essentially, the city has the burden of proof and there's no deference to the city's decision. So up to this point, there has been no cases to date that have upheld the development standard as objective. We will now go on to the 5 hearing limit. The SB 330 provides that no more than 5 public hearings, including continued hearings and appeals, may be held on a project after an application for a qualified housing development project is deemed complete. Hearing is broadly defined to include any workshop or meeting of a board, commission, council, department, or subcommittee. So what counts towards the 5 Planning Commission meetings, including the continued hearings, design review board meetings, appeals to the Board of Supervisors, and workshops. What does not count are legislative actions, such as the general plan amendment. The Commission's responsibility, once an SB 330 project is before you, the city must reach a final decision within 5 total hearings across all bodies. And again, limitations on local governments. As you know, SB 330 prohibits local agencies from enacting new laws that would have the effect of reducing the legal limit on any new housing within their borders or delaying new housing via administrative or other regulatory barriers. Specifically, the city cannot do the following. Streamline permit timelines, shorten timelines for approvals. So SB 330 shortens the timeframes for housing development approval under the PSA. Local agencies now have 90 days instead of 120 days following certification of environmental impact report to approve the project. However, for low-income projects seeking tax credits or other public funding, that time frame is 60 days. There are limits delays caused by local review. Once an application is submitted, SB 330 requires the city to inform the applicant of any inconsistencies within 30 days for projects with 150 or fewer housing units, or 60 days for projects with more than 150 housing units. It encourages faster processing, which is the whole premise behind the Streamlined Permitting Act. There are tenant and occupant protections. I'll touch on this lightly. SB 330 applies to housing projects involving demolition, so no net loss of units. It prohibits development approvals that require residential unit demolition unless the project will replace all existing or previously demolished affordable restricted units and will include at least as many units as existed on the site within the previous 5 years. Essentially, it's a one-for-one replacement of affordable units. There are also tenant protections. What about CEQA? So a lot of instances, people think that SB 330 exempts CEQA analysis. However, it does not. It works alongside environmental review. SB 330 limits misuse of CEQA as a delay tactic indirectly. Meetings held but not required by CEQA count towards the 5-meeting maximum. If a CEQA determination is made separate from a development project, a decision on the project must be made within 60 days from determination that the project is exempt from CEQA, a CEQA exemption applies, or a mitigated negative declaration. The failure to make a CEQA determination or failure to approve a CEQA document may constitute the disapproval of a housing development project. We now turn to the consequences of noncompliance. This section is directly related to the city's legal exposure. Enforcement mechanisms. SB 330 allows a project applicant, a person eligible to apply for residency or housing organization, to file a lawsuit if a local agency requires a housing project to comply with a new ordinance, policy, or standard not adopted and in effect when a preliminary application was submitted. And this is a list of what the courts can do. Remedies are available to courts include mandatory compliance orders, judicial oversight, and expedited review. These are powerful tools that courts have shown a willingness to use against non-compliant municipalities. We have an example here, people of the state of California versus the city of Elk Grove. In May of 2023, HCD filed a lawsuit against Elk Grove for unlawfully denying a supportive housing project. I believe it was a senior apartment building known as Oak Rose Apartments. After more than a year of litigation, the parties settled via lawsuit settlement agreement, which included the city to be subject to reporting requirements to monitor its compliance with state housing laws, payment to the state in the sum of $150,000 for attorney's fees and other costs. So generally, the courts favor housing production and their strict interpretation against local restrictions. These are the practical implications for developers and local governments. For developers, there are greater certainty for entitlement process, reduced risk of downzoning, faster timelines, stronger legal leverage. The implications for local governments, however, are reduced discretion, need for objective standards, increased legal exposure, pressure to meet housing goals. And this is a summary of the updates and amendments upon SB 330. SB 8 extended the sunset date from January 1st, 2025 to January 1st, 2030. It also clarified the vesting rules and the lock-in frozen in time and expanded tenant protections. Key takeaways are that SB 330 significant limits local control, provides stronger protections for developers, and central tool for California housing policy. The litigation risk is high for non-compliant cities. And you can reach me at that email address if you have any questions or anything I'd like to address.
Thank you for that presentation, City Attorney Savari. Commissioners, any questions?
No, but I think introducing this Tyler software is coming just in time.
I had a quick question on the 5 hearing limit. If it's a, maybe a controversial project where like the developer, we're requesting that they do work sessions with the community, does that count as a hearing?
From my understanding, workshops do count. So we need to take the hearing limit very cautiously. But for now, I mean, there's no case law that says otherwise, but it defines it as workshops to be included, and a workshop is considered a hearing.
Can a developer forego that requirement? In other words, if there's some
Yes, yeah. So if there's an agreement between the developer and the city, something in writing that says they waive that, then I don't see a problem with that. Yeah.
just I can understand the intent, but it's, the local control, everything's being governed from Sacramento. It's unfortunate, but I also understand the challenges that developers deal with too. So, thank you for the presentation.
Absolutely, thank you.
So SB 8 and SB 330 sunset date is January of 2023, but I'm sure we're gonna have a whole bunch of SBs more between now and then. But just curious, so obviously we're not gonna let them build on a fault line, or we're not gonna let them build on a FEMA flood zone plain. What would be considered, as you mentioned, is a very difficult standard to achieve when it comes to denial of something? What would be some of the things that other cities might have denied the project that's considered unsafe?
You know, it's a very hard standard to achieve, so I don't believe there has been anything, Kate, that can answer that question, to be honest. And I think I'm giving my opinion, but they crafted the language a certain way that not makes it impossible, but very highly unattainable to fly. Or, I mean, it has to be a health and safety, like maybe something related to, I don't know, gas, I don't know, something that's just.
I'm just curious, because I know just common sense, we wouldn't let them build on on those things, so, okay.
Or maybe we will, I don't know.
Yeah, they would build on the fault line, it'd be okay. All right, any other questions for Leila? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I don't think we need a public hearing on that, but we're gonna open up a public hearing. Any members want to make a comment, present or online?
No, Chair.
Okay, so we'll just go ahead and we just discussion items, so nothing needed there. We'll now take department reports.
Thank you, Chair. Nothing to report.
All right, and how about Community Development Director, any reports coming up from you?
Thank you, Chair. I have nothing to report this time.
Okay, and how about future agenda items?
Yes, our future agenda items continue to increase in size. We are working very hard behind the scenes to increase these agenda items, and our Deputy Director is also working very hard to ensure that we have a substantial lineup for the Commission's consideration. Right now, we will be bringing forward a public hearing for Devonshire Avenue Skilled Nursing Facility, conditional use permit, the Urban Water Management Plan update, the annual 5-year capital improvement plan update, the tentative track map for Page Plaza, pro-housing designation program, conditional use permit for Costin Square, a tentative track map for Valle de los Tres Cerritos, the fire code cycle updates for residential construction in very high fire severity hazard zones, the 2025 building code cycle updates in accordance with AB 306 in residential construction, as well as pre-approved ADU plans. I'd also like to mention that we have items that come to the city for development concept in the form of the Development Review Committee meetings. Those meetings are also agendized and are available for the public to review those agendas to see also what type of projects are coming through, even prior to being placed on an agenda to the Planning Commission. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much for that. And then commissioners' reports.
Commissioner Viramontes,
I have nothing to report.
thank you. Commissioner Hill,
I have nothing to report, thank you.
thank you. Vice Chair Worth,
On the DRC, how is that, where's that agenda at? And is there an email notification or something that is sent out on the email list?
yes, you certainly can subscribe. When the agenda is posted, you will receive a notification. The Development Review Committee portal is located on the city's website, in the same location as City Council, Planning Commission, and other committees.
Oh, okay, thank you. Nothing else to report.
Thank you. Chair Beamster?
Forgive me, Sharice, I'm gonna have a lot to report here. Weston Park was approved. CR&R is working out a deal with the city of Hemet from the last city meeting, which seemed to be helpful. We're getting an extra street sweeper. They're gonna do weekly street sweepings, starting within the next 18 months. Their recycling trucks are gonna have AI cameras put on them so that they can report more blight in the streets if it needs to be reported. We had the Regional Economic Summit just recently, and a great video by Ben with the Hemet Economic Development video that he did with the city to try to promote Hemet and get businesses here. The strategic planning with the city council happened. That was an interesting thing to watch, and one of the things I noticed that Mayor Krupa mentioned is kind of how out of touch the planning commission is when it comes to some of the future agendas or plannings coming through with the city of Hemet, and how some of the things that we put on the board, on the wall that we would like to see. She mentioned, she's like, oh, that's being done, that's coming down, we're working on that. She's like, I'm just really surprised that Planning Commission isn't as updated as they should be with some of these projects. Measure U Citizen Oversight had their meeting, and the restaurant grant was granted. Originally the restaurant grant was for downtown, but unfortunately, we made that it's not unfortunate, but we made that citywide, but only one was granted for downtown. We have a new city manager, our city manager retired yesterday, so Noah's our new intern city manager until we get a new one. And one of the things that the last couple weeks that I've been noticing with downtown, and it's just frustrating to see, is the battles between two families in particular and how they take it to social media. And I just would love to see something change with that, because it's just getting old and it's an obsession. So I would love to see some changes there with downtown and working with the business owners. And I don't know, I can go on and on and on about it. You can see I wrote a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm not gonna say anything because I can get in trouble. So with that, I have nothing else to report. And we're going to adjourn this.
Sure. Real quick, I apologize. I do have one thing to report. I did have a meeting since the last Planning Commission meeting. I met with the developer. I can't remember the name of the project, but south of Lowe's. They requested a meeting with me and presented some of their concepts, which I appreciated. Had the opportunity to provide some feedback. So that's with Ed Sauls and the rest of his team. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, noted. And with that, we're going to go ahead and, there being no further business to discuss, this meeting is adjourned to next Planning Commission meeting for May 19th, 2026 at 6 p.m.